capricious way. Anything that has international, anything around DEI, anything that is not allegedly part of the agenda of the new administration, they send notices of non-renewal, non-payment. So almost we have a daily meeting with all the deans. So basically, in any given day, it will be like 3 or 4 or 5 grants that are cut, not being paid, and so forth. So that's also the actual direct cost. So let's say you have a $3-4 million grant that you have people and staff and faculty on that. Basically, if that's cut, you can understand the impact on that. And of course, the bigger impact also is also on the other grants, NSF, and so forth. So if the same logic of cutting the overhead of getting the grants, it could have a multi-million impact on the institution. And we're talking about upwards of $100 million. And so for an institution of our size with not a huge endowment, you can understand, trying to make up 35 or 50, depending on what's going to be the actual number, is quite problematic. So that's kind of where we are in terms of kind of the overall university picture. Definitely not a rosy picture. So how it affects us, basically they put as you know, I would call it not a pause on the hiring, but kind of more like careful approval process. So we have our faculty positions, the evergreen positions, some of the replacement lines we have in different departments. So we put all of them with a request not to cut any of them. So we have 6-7 positions that we are aiming to fill this year. So when the progress is deciding, we promised today, so we can hopefully move forward. We have 1 or 2 positions that we're ready. We submitted the paperwork for the offer, and we're kind of waiting on that front. On the staff, they've been kind of also everything has to be approved by HR and from the provost. So we have several positions. We of course prioritize. We kind of try to reduce or eliminate others in different areas. So we have a meeting on Monday to decide. Some of them are more critical than others. For example, in terms of our marketing efforts, in terms of our starting new programs that we need some staff support. We have on executive education staff who can help us with business development. So we have quite some critical positions. We try to prioritize so we don't have any significant impact on our various administrative processes. So those I'm quite hopeful that at least the 4 or 5 important ones can move forward, and we may be able to make it do with some contract workers or other type of appointments for the less important positions. So we'll know more later today on the faculty and on the staff on Monday. So that's kind of where we are as far as this new hiring is concerned. Well, on the school side, things are looking much better as far as not being affected by these issues. So in terms of our strategic plan, thanks to everybody who overwhelmingly supported the plan. The leads of the different areas, both the research areas and the administrative research, the 6 sections we have, are working on creating a task force of people who can help them achieve that vision. So many of you have received probably these invitations. I hope you accept. And the idea is to have a comprehensive, relevant set of faculty and staff who can help promote the different agendas, from career success to education innovation to our research programs and our teaching efforts as well. So that's where we are on that front. We're hoping to have the unveiling of the plan sometime in March. We're looking at several dates in March. We're going to have the president and the provost join us. We're also looking potentially perhaps waiting until the centennial on April 7-8, so at least it's part of the broader celebration of the 100 years of the university. Overall, across the board, things are looking quite good. We secured another major chair in the the chaplain, one of our trustees, and gave us 3.7 million to create and endow and name the chair in marketing. And they asked explicitly for a new person in this digital marketing, marketing AI, and so forth. So we're working on, as part of our evergreen positions, to secure a worthy candidate for the chair. I had mentioned earlier we have also a business technology chair that also we're working on, hopefully furnishing this year. And as part of our fundraising, things are moving quite well. We're just short about 8 million for the 200 million overall goal. If you recall, we're down 22 million when at least this fiscal year. So we're looking pretty good, about 14 million so far. So we're hoping the next 3 months or so to reach that about 200 million, more than 20 million for the current fiscal year. We're looking at several big hits that we're trying to close as part of this finalization of the campaign. So on that fundraising external part, things are looking very strong. On the rankings, by the way, I'll be sending a more formal email on Monday, kind of my usual monthly email with a detailed both across the whole school. But we improved several spots on the Financial Times MBA ranking. We're actually at 41 for the first time ever. So we're kind of, let's say, safely in the top 50. So that's kind of a good sign. Kind of looking at you might have heard that schools are having a hard time placing their MBA students, and even Harvard is like at 75% placement, which is really, really bad. And I was talking with a colleague from Notre Dame yesterday, Senior Associate Dean of Programs, and he said that they were about the same. We're actually very fortunate that we're actually led the country in placement 3 months from graduation for our MBA class. 97%, so but only a couple of students did not secure employment, so that was a positive thing. Unfortunately, back in May, at graduation was not as rosy. It was kind of in the I don't know if Harry's here. I think it was in the 50s. So yeah, but at least we had what? Do you have an exact number, Harry?
They're at about 58% at graduation.
Yeah, but anyway, so it was kind of good that we went, I guess, 40 points up kind of in 3 months. So obviously it's a continued process. We're in one of our key hires that we'd like to do, as I mentioned on the staff side, is to get a dedicated executive director to help with MBA placement, MBA recruiting in terms of helping them with career placement. So I think that will be an important one. If we are to move in the top 20 in the MBA rankings, we need to be close to the 100%, and also the salaries have to go up from whatever 117 to close to 150 or so to be on that kind of neighborhood. But anyway, at least we are moving in the right direction, and at least pending any kind of staff, hiring posts, hopefully that area will improve, so we can get our students to be placed and not just MBA, but across the board. But the MBA has a very unique and distinct emphasis on placement and salaries. Across the board, things are moving along in different ways. I guess my colleagues, Harry, DJ, others will talk about some of the other parts we are on the programs, on other aspects of the school. But overall, we're making very good progress. So I guess the only kind of uncertain part is what's going to happen at the university level. So as I mentioned, we give probably updates. We are hear the updates from the provost today and Monday on the faculty and staff. I think those will be quite impactful on us, depending on how they play out. I'm hoping actually when I send my message on Monday to maybe give a more specific update on faculty positions and the staff positions. And the last thing I'd like to say, the president, George Varia, will have a town hall meeting this Thursday afternoon. I think it was an email sent. So if you're interested in learning more about the university and even asking questions directly, he will have a town hall this coming Thursday. Happy to answer any questions, but I would say The state of the school is really good as far as we are concerned. Given this university cloud on top of us, we might be affected negatively. So we're in this very uncertain situation at this point. Thanks.
Questions for Paul? Okay, great. Thanks for those updates, Paul. Appreciate it. Now let's move to Linda, who's going to provide some updates on what's been going on with the Faculty Senate. Linda.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, John. Just as Paul said, the Faculty Senate is having Joe Echeverria have a town hall next week to talk about some of the issues that are going on right now, particularly with respect to grants. On another issue, the provost search is moving right along. We have the job description completed. Even without a job description, over 50 applicants have come through, and we anticipate being able to keep this process moving and hopefully have a provost in place before the beginning of next academic year. So that is moving along. Another issue, the Senate voted unanimously to move from Blackboard to Canvas. We need to get, obviously, budget approval for that, but that'll be moving on. It'll take about a year and a half to move into that system, and they'll provide training for any faculty members and staff that might need it, but that is moving ahead. We remember a year ago, the university kind of arbitrarily decided to centralize advising. They have the first results from the centralized advising system, and somewhat disconcerting, the business school satisfaction level from students is down at the very bottom. The only school that is lower in satisfaction is the College of Engineering. So we went from having very high satisfaction with our advising to now being one of the lower satisfaction schools. So that tells you something about the success metrics with centralizing an advising process. And then finally, the merit increase process, there's going to be a couple of changes. One major one, merit increase process according to the faculty manual is something that takes place between the department chairs and the deans only. So department chairs obviously know their faculty the best. They meet with the dean and they make suggestions with respect to merit increases. In some schools, not in ours, but in some schools, the chairs have been cut out of the process. So what they are doing now is they're having department chairs input their merit increases into workday. And if the dean disagrees with the merit increase, then there will need to be a discussion between the dean and the chair to make those, adjustments and corrections. So it's a little bit different, and it's done with the idea that the process really should be following the faculty manual, and again, is one that involves the chairs and the dean. And that's basically about it. Are there any questions?
Yeah, Linda, what's the difference between Blackboard and the other system you said?
What's the difference between Blackboard and Canvas?
Yeah.
I understand that they're going to, we can actually have Alan Gorky come and give a presentation on this. I understand that there's some advantages to Canvas. It's supposed to be actually easier to use than Blackboard. Some of the faculty in our school have already used Canvas because they're teaching 2U classes, and those classes use Canvas, as their platform. If we were to stay with Blackboard, we would still have to essentially get up to speed on a new platform because there's a new version of Blackboard that's coming out. So there's really no advantage. The majority of universities that they surveyed seem to use Canvas and have higher satisfaction with the Canvas system.
Can I just interrupt? I'm on the Computing Advisory Committee, and we had a discussion about that in detail, Howie. And it was basically the idea that you can see the role of Blackboard is really going down. Maybe 20% now of the universities use it, and all the top universities are using Canvas. And because basically we'll have to move to Ultra, which is Blackboard or Canvas, basically we did a pilot study there, and they showed that basically it's more up to date, and basically most universities use Canvas. So we decided between Ultra, and we did a vote, and we also voted for Canvas to move. So everybody's going to have to move anyways, Howie, because what I said is nobody wants to waste their time on a learning management system, right? You want to just teach. So if you have to do that, and they're going to get extra staff as well, they're planning to make that movement. That's just my comment. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. Yeah, if I may, I've used both systems. I think it's clear, in addition to the popularity or the increasing popularity of Canvas, its functionality both for the faculty as well as the students, I think is vastly superior. So I just wanted to interject that. I also had conversations with Lily Steiner, our new staff member in terms of instructional advancement and that. And she was very pleased that this was being considered, and she knew I was going to the Senate meeting, and she's like, please, please, please make sure that this Canvas gets through. So it's going through. I think the transition for the faculty is going to be fairly small, and given, as Linda said, we have to do in a transition to the new version of Blackboard, this work is coming anyway, so we might as well jump to something that's more beneficial.
And just to say, like my 2 cents, I would agree. I mean, two previous institutions actually moved from Blackboard to Canvas, and everybody was so much happier. Students, faculty, it's a much better system. Obviously, I haven't seen the Blackboard Ultra, so it's obviously the new version, as you mentioned, but definitely the Canvas is much superior, much easier to use, more like a web interface that is much easier to use, kind of self-explanatory. So I think it would be a great improvement.
Okay, other comments or questions? Go ahead, Uzma.
Linda, do you mind telling a little bit more about why advising was centralized in the first place? Because it seems, just from the outside, it seems not the smartest move. So what was the rationale behind doing that?
That was, there was a lot of controversy there because the faculty senate basically felt they were kept out of the process. We were surprised by it. I think that it was done by the provost office. I think that there may have been some pressure from one particular board of trustee member that felt that by centralizing advising, and they're also thinking about centralizing career placement, that this would somehow improve our retention. I don't think that the statistics are going to indicate that, and it certainly hasn't improved satisfaction with business school advising, which, by the way, is something that's important in our rankings. When we learned about this, the decision had already been made, and there was a lot of discontent on the part of the faculty senate.
So it seems like this is something that is not going to stick because it doesn't seem right to me. The individual schools are best suited for something like this, I think.
Some
Well, go ahead, please.
very poorly in advising. Architecture, for example, the College of Arts and Science did very poorly in advising. And so I think this system has helped them. Their satisfaction levels have increased. But in our school, we had very, very good advisors. And so centralizing them really didn't help the process.
Yeah, just to add a few things. Obviously, the decision preceded me, and it was kind of being implemented kind of in the summer, but the decision was made. It was kind of like when I came in, and I had questions on that, and it was like, no, the decision was made, and I think Anne earlier, kind of tried to fight it, but it didn't work out. Maybe Harry has some more information, but even before I came, it was like a decision had been made. They were looking for a person to oversee the overall kind of advising function. Well, of course, I mean, besides certain individual schools like ours, I mean, the overall satisfaction, I mean, Linda was, and John and were at the meeting, and we had a separate meeting earlier with the overall executive director. So the numbers went up like 10 percentage points across the university. So different satisfaction metrics. So at the overall university, I think that was an improvement. I think the issue is also like if you look at the numbers and the number of advisors per student was much worse in the business school, and now the idea is to get 250 students per advisor. Even the business school, this is the last time that we met, it was actually upwards of 300, 330 if I recall well. I don't know how to have the exact number. So we are still, trying to get more advisors, to work in the business school, at least as far as we're concerned. On the positive note, in the implementation part, still the advisors are given our space constraints. They're all physically located in the business school. They report to Mitch, that of course, our person that we hired. So at least it's kind of localized, given this new structure. They are trying to get more people, so, and at least budget-wise, those people are not paid by us. I mean, given this very complex university wage budget, but at least about $1 million that the advising is costing those 16 or so advisors is paid for by the central administration. So that's kind of, I think, and a big part of that advising obviously is just mere numbers. So if you get to the 250, I think hopefully the numbers will improve, quite a bit. So anyway, so there are some positive news, some negative news, and so I don't know, Harriet, you may have some more details, or Alex, you may have some more details on what happened and what is happening on the ground right now. So, but that's an important part of overall retention satisfaction. So, and I don't know if anyone wants to have some more, in-depth updates.
So, my intuition, and I'm fairly new to the job, but we lost several very senior advisors and had to replace with new, less seasoned advisors. And the onboarding was done that the new advisor got less students, but the other advisors got, like Paul says, about 400 or more students. So that transition might have hurt us too. We lost Jeannie, we lost other many very, very senior advisors. So, but we hope if we are able to retain the advisors and have less turnover, we'll go back to our good standing with the students. I don't know, Harry, if you have more.
Yeah, so structurally, I think they were trying to solve this first year retention, 6-year graduation problem. And one of the things that they realized was that advising was actually uneven across the university. So there's two ways to look at it, right? You can kind of take best practices from schools that are doing well and kind of implement them elsewhere. So if you look at schools like the Marine School, Engineering School, they have a faculty advising model compared to our professional advising model, where advising is actually a functional task. We get experts who are trained in that, and that's how we do it. Elsewhere in the university, it used to be that faculty, as part of their service, would take on some caseload of students. So that led to a lot of unevenness because not all of the faculty know all of the bulletin very well, so people would say things and so on. From our standpoint, I mean, I think more than the attrition, losing someone like Jeannie, if it happens, that's a big hit. I mean, you're talking about 40 years of experience. It's not easy to replace in 1 year. We also scaled up quite dramatically. So last summer, we had hired 4 new advisors. And when you hire a new advisor, as Alex is pointing out, you can't immediately give them a caseload of 250. You have to kind of gradually build into it. So you start them with 80 or 90, and all of them are new students, and then you kind of work into it. So it does pose some temporary unevenness across the advising team. The bigger challenge, I think, for us is that when a business school student doesn't get into a math class, doesn't get into an English class, right, the advisor is blamed for that. That has nothing to do with the advisor at all. So some of these surveys that are going out are very poorly structured. It doesn't put the advisor in good light at all, right? because the flip side of this is, when you survey our alumni in terms of their advising experience at UM, and that's done by all of the ranking surveys, we rank for top 40 in the country. Right? So it's not then we get 8.5 out of 10, 8.9 out of 10, depending upon the year. So we know that our advising people do well. It's depending on what questions you ask them. If you ask them immediately after the fact that they didn't get into their preferred Math 107 section, yeah, of course, they're going to hammer you on the survey. So there's a lot of elements to this. I don't think it should paint our advising team in any poor light at all. I mean, those guys work really, really hard and do their best. And somewhere in this unevenness, they've dragged us down so that we can be at everyone else's level. How I feel about this. But I think we have the ability with our MOU to kind of work with the center on this and see if we can improve our standing and services.
Thank you, Harvey. One other quick comment I'll make. At the faculty senate meeting, they provided data and they're looking at internal metrics, which makes a lot of sense. What I stressed is that we should also do some external benchmarking with AAU schools, and in particular private schools, because these ratios and stuff for state schools may be a little bit higher than for the private schools. So I think the Senate will certainly continue to look at this issue and push to make sure that we've got some external benchmarking, and especially with respect to the reference group we'd like to be in, private schools in particular, that we're meeting those performance levels. Other comments or questions for Linda with Holly? Go ahead.
Yeah, Linda, at the last school council meeting and the one before that, Board of Trustees member came to the meeting, and she was introduced as the ombudsman person between the faculty and the Board of Trustees. Did I hallucinate that, or is that actually the case?
Are you talking about Lori?
Whoever it was, I don't remember the name.
Lori was a former board of the Board of Trustees, and I worked closely with her on Senate committees. She is very, very supportive of the faculty and an extremely good liaison to have between the faculty and the board. So she has worked very closely with us on a lot of initiatives.
Is she on the board?
She's on the board. Oh, yeah, she's on the executive committee of the board.
Okay, thank you.
She was the former chairwoman of the board, Howie. She was just finished her term, and that's a new role that she assumed.
Right, and I worked with her closely when I was faculty senate chair.
Okay, great, thanks.
Okay, thank you, Linda. Appreciate that. All right, I'd like to turn things over to DJ to give some updates with respect to the faculty.
Thanks, John. Good morning, everybody. Very brief updates. First, the faculty activity reporting phase 1 is going to be complete today. Today is the deadline for the chairs to submit to the dean their evaluations after reviewing all the faculty activity reports, which were completed over 2 weeks ago. And then Paul will meet with each chair to discuss their evaluations. Now, the merit process is going to come later because we still don't know what the merit pool is and what the process is going to be, but we'll be done with the evaluations over the next few weeks. The second announcement is we have our Spring Faculty Research Colloquium on March 25th. We have Yakshap Chopra from Finance, Chad Kendall from Economics, and John Lim from Management Science. So please try to attend. We will be serving lunch. You get to see their portfolio of scholarship and ask them questions. And I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Questions for DJ? Okay, thank you. So we'll turn this over to Hari for updates on business programs.
Thanks, John. So on the grad side, we are approaching the kind of business end of the year. So spring break is coming up, so our students are going on globe trips this year because of the numbers. We have 3 trips, students going to Brazil. There's a trip to Spain, Portugal, and another to Singapore and Vietnam. So we have faculty leading these trips. So hopefully we'll see some exciting outcomes from that. We're also approaching the end of the year, which means our career activities are ramping up. We have lots of alumni sessions, panels, and individual coaching for students in UK. So that's going on quite successfully. On the enrollment side, March 1st, which is tomorrow, is the deadline for round 3 applications to come in. At this point, in terms of enrollment, we are at about the 50% mark. So 2 of the 4 rounds are completed, so we're at 50%. So we are on pace to meet our target, and we are ahead of where we were last year as well. So these are good signs. But we are looking at this very, very cautiously because of what it means for international students. Right now in our portfolio, I'd say about 25 to 30% of our portfolio of enrolled students is international. We want to make sure that we get them I-20s sufficiently in advance so that they can do their visa processing and come here. So the yield on that is still to be determined. We are putting together a sequence of yield events. The first one is going to be on April 3rd. So this is for admitted and enrolled students to come in, meet program directors, meet our faculty, meet current students, get a feel for what it would be like on campus, in the hope that they would all then enroll later on. So if you are available, please do join us for those events. Meeting with the faculty is the kind of biggest conversion factor that we can introduce. So talking to some of these prospective students would be great if you have the time to do that. On the ranking side, Paul mentioned that the Financial Times ranking, we rank 41st in the US, so that's a huge positive for us. So we're making some steady improvements there. Our MIB program was also ranked 36th by QS, so there's some positive news on that front as well. So overall, things are looking good. We're cautiously optimistic of meeting our targets coming up, and with more marketing support that we've been getting, I think we should be putting together a fairly robust class coming in.
Okay, thank you. Questions for Hari? Okay. And while it's not on the agenda, I would like to offer Alex. I don't want to put you on the spot, but if there are any particular updates, I know you're still warming the chair, so to speak, in your new position. But if you had some updates, you're welcome to make them.
So thank you, John. Yes, you did put me on the spot. I did not know exactly what to expect on my first invitation. We are good with the admission, so we are on track a little bit ahead of previous years. So we expect to hit our 710 admissions for this cycle. We have 230 admitted students that arrived on the spring right now. So that's so I guess our total is around 1,000 between fall and spring admissions. And yeah, no, I didn't. I apologize.
No.
Did not prepare. I did not want to expect. I came for a different reason that I'm going to talk later. But I promise for the next school council meetings, I'll have all the updates and I'll be prepared.
Well, Alex, thanks for that. I didn't mean to put you on the spot. But one thing you will learn very quickly about the council, if you say, I don't have anything to say right now, people are not disappointed. So, but I did want to give you that opportunity. Thank you. Okay, at this point we can move to curricular matters, and the first item is number 7, the informational item. It has to do with an update on the terms offered and correcting some errors there. You've seen this, but Hari, or you're going to take the lead on just quickly explaining this?
Alex is, but go ahead, Alex.
No, this is just an administrative issue required by HIPSA. We need to update the bulletin, and it's simply that.
Yes, it's cleaning house. I met with
Yeah.
Priscilla, and she's basically explained the whole thing to me, and she says that's why I just put what she's signing. It's just making sure that they both match.
Yeah, so it's primarily a straightforward notification issue.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's what it is.
anyone have any questions about this? Okay, so I think we're good. We can move on to some informational items related to the marketing course, brand management, and brand storytelling. Uzma, are you taking the lead on this?
Yeah, sure. All we are doing here is moving the term in which they're offered, and that's about it. And I think something like this should probably not even come to the school council. But again, if it does, then it does. But we need to discuss it because it's just it's a change in the bulletin. But yeah, nothing interesting to report. Yeah, I spoke to Priscilla about this, and basically the thing is when they did the report, they didn't catch those two. So those were the two pending, so I had to list them separately. But it's again term offered. That's basically like house cleaning.
Yeah, and these notification items, I think if they do need to come forward, they don't tend to take a lot of time. However, if anyone has a question about this, please go ahead. Okay, we'll move to item number 9. This has to do with the session on innovation and technology and design for BUS 150. Alex, are you speaking on this?
Yes, this is the main reason I'm here. Thank you, John. So let me give you a little bit of background. There is a program that sits at created by the previous provost called Innovation, Technology, and Design, and now it's managed by the business school and the engineering, and they are trying to fix a lot of problems with the program. We are partially responsible of this program, and one of the issues they realize is that the students need a little bit more of business background, and they find two important courses that these students need to take, which is a BUS 200, it's basically a course offered by economics, and a BUS 150, which is a course of business analytics offered by business technology. Now the BUS 200 course has no issue because it's open to all non-business students, but BUS 150 is part of our core courses, and we don't offer core courses to non-business students. Now, in this particular case, giving these courses to the ITD students, I don't think it's of any concern because they are technically our responsibility. They are managed by us together with engineering, so we will not be opening to outside business. These are still students that are responsible of business. An alternative that we study is the possibility to create a new course with similar content for non-business students. The issue is that many ITD students are moving later on to the business school, that they will have to take our course, and then they will have to take again the same course. So what we are asking is this possibility to offer BUS 150 to ITD students. These are very good students. It's around 15 students per year that will take it. So it's not many, and I already discussed the possibility with the chair of business technology, and he can provide access to this student by creating a new section. So I just wanted to bring up to the school council and have your vote if you approve this BUS 150 to be offered just to ITD students outside business. It's not for any non-business student.
Alex, does it have any recs? Because it's a core, I assume it doesn't.
Yeah.
Because if it has any prerequisites, then that might change some dynamic.
I know BUS 150 does not. But Alex, let me ask you a question. Do we need to set up a separate section for them, or just incorporate them in our regular section? Because you're talking about 15 students?
15 to 20 students.
So they're going to have their own section, or they're going to be
They'll have their own section, and because probably there will be more seats than 15, 20, we will fill with our students. There is enough demand.
Okay, you're right, but it's not going to be specifically for those students. Our regular students can be in that class too. Our business students. Okay.
Our business students will be able to take
That section.
of that section.
Seems like a no-brainer there. Why repeat it? Why create a new course if that's already existing, in my opinion?
Thank you, Sarah. That was the rationale for asking this.
Yeah. To me, it seems we have enough work to do, no?
Yeah, I'd just like to make a very quick comment here. If this strikes anyone as sort of a new just-in-time course providing for people in a program, this is should not bear any reflection adversely on the business school or its approach or its commitment to this. As some of you may know, this program was sped through with a lot of pressure, without enough conceptualization and thinking about these things. And I commend the staff for putting together solutions for problems that were not of their own. Other questions or comments?
Yes, we are trying to help these students to have a more rounded education, and we have taken responsibility of them. So that's basically what we're trying to do.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much. All right. So we're ready to move to the new program proposal, which is the BSBA in Supply Chain Analytics. Nahara, you're here.
Yes, I am. Thank you, John. So I'm here to give you a quick review of our proposal for the BSBA degree in Supply Chain Analytics. I'm going to give you a little bit of background, and then I'll talk about the rising of demand in our school. We have seen a growth in the demand for jobs in the supply chain, especially with the growth in global supply chain and growth complexity. The projection for the job for supply chain professional is predicted to be like about 20%, which is more than the average for all other professionals. And we also see the rising demand since we offer the BBA degree in supply chain analytics in our school. There are many students that are seeking a BSBA degree in the field, and they want to have a more profound expertise in analytics, data science, and quantitative decision making. And also with the growth in AI and data-driven decision making, this program and this major offers very profound skills for the students. We are offering the same courses in the BBA degree with additional courses from different departments, such as industrial engineering, management science, business technology. We are including AI courses and more data analysis courses in the field. Any questions? I'm happy.
Any questions for Zara? And I know you've all reviewed this, okay? All right, seeing no questions, we can move to item number 11, which is a course description update on Accounting 649, the issue in tax policy. So, is Daniel here?
Daniel's not here, but I am in
Okay.
today. Yeah, thank you. So, thank you everyone and good morning. So this proposal is just a course description change in the bulletin to refresh and update the tax policy course. One of our advisory council members actually does instruction for us in this course, and in this discussion, suggested that we change it, and so we've accommodated that request in here for him. In discussion with the faculty, we agreed that that would be a better description for the course as it is currently taught. And then the other proposal is the course title change for 672, which is the financial analysis for valuation. And so I know Emmanuel actually teaches that course, and based on what he's teaching in there and what has been taught in there, it was recommended that we change the description. So again, the faculty met and discussed these changes and approved and voted them. And so it went through the graduate council, the graduate education committee as well before coming to this committee.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and it certainly made sense to put these items together. So they're primarily notification items. Any questions for Deanna? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we'll move to a new course proposal, which is Management 639, the Cane Angels Network. And Sonia is here. I will say that this went through the departmental process, and it also went to GBEC. And I'm looking on the screen. Sonia, you are here. So I'll turn this over to you to speak about this course. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Good morning. I would like to thank the school council for considering the proposal for adding a new course, Management 639, the Angel Network. I would also like to thank Dr. Neiser for her support, as well as the support of the finance department toward this proposal. So to provide some background, the course is fully experiential, graduate level, and it has been offered for the past couple of years under Management 698 as select topics, and it has been gaining popularity among the students, hence this proposal to make it a permanent course offering. Dr. Norma Kenyon, who's the Vice Provost for Innovation at the University of Miami, is the lead faculty, and in my role as the Executive Director of the Cane Angel Network, I am on the teaching team. And so to explain the relationship between the Cane Angel Network and the course, the Cane Angel Network brings together investors and startups from the University of Miami community. Our members are alumni, faculty, staff, parents of students who are all interested in investing their personal funds into startups that are deriving from the University of Miami community. And the startups are at an early stage. Their founders are faculty, staff, alumni, students, also spin-offs from intellectual property that's owned by the university. And they're typically raising anywhere between $500,000 to $1.5 million in a venture round. And they apply to the Cane Angel Network to raise funding from the Cane Angel Network members. And so the startups that apply for funding to the Cane Angel Network are analyzed by the students who are taking the class. And the way that the class is organized is in the first part, we usually have a speaker who's a prominent venture investor, angel investor, a person from the investment community, both here in South Florida, but also we have speakers from Silicon Valley. And then in the second part of the class, a startup CEO comes into the class, presents their investment opportunity the same way they would present to a venture capital firm, where there is a 10-minute to 15-minute presentation with a pitch deck, and then the students ask for about half an hour questions about various aspects of the company, whether it's their market size, competitive landscape, the team background, the raise itself. And then after that, the students meet in small groups of 5 to 6 students to analyze the opportunity, do their own research, and prepare very professional investment deal memos. And the deal memo is what we utilize to send to the Cane Angel Network members to introduce the investment opportunity. And so every week we send a new deal memo, and it's a result of the work of the graduate students. I should highlight here that the students do not make a recommendation if the members should invest in the company or not, but rather they outline in detail the positive aspects that they have identified, as well as any items for further due diligence that if the investors are interested to dive deeper, they should focus on reviewing with the team so that obviously based on their personal further due diligence, they can make a decision on their own if they would like to invest in the companies. So that's the background. Most of the students are from the business school. Those students from other disciplines that are at graduate level are also invited. In this semester, we have several PhD candidates from the medical school and one PhD candidate from the marine school. And actually their background is extremely helpful, especially in evaluating investment opportunities that are in the healthcare life science space, and also some that have touch points with climate resilience. So the diverse academic background of the students is also obviously very important to have a balanced evaluation of the opportunities. So that's the background. If you have any questions, I'm happy to address them.
You're muted, John.
Sorry, I clicked the mute button. I mean, it's amazing how often we make these mistakes. My apologies. So yeah, I wanted to thank you for coming and bringing this, also you and your team's work on this course. Are there any questions for Sonia? Okay, well, thank you, and we'll be in touch shortly to give you further feedback about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Okay. Okay, so we're ready for the proposal for the establishment of the part-time MSA and MST.
Yes, me again, thank you.
Oh, you're up again, okay.
Yeah.
Purpose in field there, as they say.
So yes, we propose establishing a part-time MSA and MSc program. This is basically expanding the options for our existing full-time programs. So there's no change in the curriculum. The only thing that we're offering then is to allow students to pursue the degree over 24 months rather than the existing 10 months. This will enable us to broaden the reach of student enrollment to working professionals so they can take the courses in the same sequence. So again, no change to the curriculum. The faculty met and voted and approved this proposal. It went through the graduate business programs education committee as well. And so we are putting forth again to this committee as well.
Okay, questions or comments? Okay, Deanna, thank you again.
Thank you.
And we're moving to our last item on the graduate list, which is the proposal for the supply chain certificate. Dan? There you are.
Good morning. We are proposing a supply chain analytics certificate program for the current graduate students and also for working professionals. The requirement is 3 core courses and 1 elective courses. Almost all courses are currently being offered. There's only 1 new courses that has been proposed and approved. We proposed this program because we currently don't have any supply chain program at the graduate level, and we propose it as a starting point to get students more prepared in supply chain management, and also provide a flexible schedule so that they can. It's basically a stackable certificate program so that students can apply credits towards eventual graduate degree in our program. So it can be a addition to the current graduate students. It can also be a starting point for a working professional to start a degree program to our school. That's it. Any questions?
And I have a quick question. So how does it, I understand how it works for the current students. How does it work for outside professionals? Because if it is stackable, they have to be enrolled in the university to be able to stack these things up over time, correct? So when they come in and these outside professionals are taking the certificate, are they going to be enrolled?
No.
university?
So I can take that question, Usman. Once the certificate is created, it has a code just as any other program does. So we would officially enroll a student interested in the certificate as though they were a regular student. It's just that they would be taking one class a semester or something like that, so that they could do it in their own timeline. So right now, it would stack into the only logical program where it can stack into is MSBA, right? Because the credits kind of line up like that. But tomorrow, if we create a master's in supply chain management, I can see how this would fit right into the MS in supply chain management. So, they are going to be doing a certain number of credits in this. The programs that currently have enough elective offerings to be able to accommodate this certificate would be the full-time MBA, the MSBA, and so on. So we have to figure out whether there are other programs later on that can embed this within their curriculum, and if there's interest in overlap.
So they're not technically enrolled in a program; they're just enrolled in the university.
Certificate.
Got it.
They are enrolled in a certificate at the university.
Yeah, but that. So my understanding was that certificate enrollments are not degree earning, and for something to be stackable, it has to be a degree earning credit. Maybe I'm.
No. So certificate by definition is not a degree, right? So they're not degree earning, but they're credit earning. So it's a credit bearing certificate as opposed to something that you do in a decade, which is not a credit bearing certificate. You will get an official transcript at the end of it saying you completed 6 or 8 credits depending upon the certificate that the university plans.
Got it. Thank you.
I have a question. So our present students, Hari, they can get a certificate along with their regular degree. Is that the idea?
Yes. So the current students would take these electives before they complete the degree. They can't do it after they complete the degree. But no later than their last semester of the degree program, they have to tell us that they want to enroll in the certificate. We put them in that stack. And then for the current students, yes, in the transcript, it will show that they took, let's say, 4 courses in supply chain, right? But they are not able to signal quality because we don't have a track or something like that. But a certificate gives them a way to signal that they have this credential for current students.
So you're planning to advertise to the outside community we have a certificate. Is that the idea? And that,
yep.
And you're also advertising later on if they want to get a master's, these courses will apply.
Yep.
And you see demand for that?
For the certificate
yes.
Outside in supply chain, yes, we do see demand. We don't see enough demand yet to dedicate an entire section to certificates. So
right.
We will be sitting in class with our regular degree program students. But together, definitely enough demand to meet the enrollment.
So they're paying university tuition. It's not like a certificate program that it will be a different amount.
They'll pay university tuition.
Okay.
Now, when they continue on to the degree program, we might give them some favorable considerations because they're already there and we can market the degree programs and so on.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thanks, Dan, to you and other members of your team for working on this, which looks really great. Thank you. Okay, so we have another matter from the forum, the temporary replacement for the graduate academic standards. Sammy is going to be on sabbatical, and we need a temporary replacement. Carolyn, there you are. Okay, Carolyn, if you want to just speak to this, thank you.
I'm here. Good morning. I just dropped into the chat the language from the bylaws for the business school. So this is a committee that Patricia Abril formalized, and then we wrote some bylaws to make sure that this was happening consistently, where standards decisions made for the graduate programs are made by faculty, and then they make a recommendation to the Vice Dean as to sort of what should be, how these situations should be handled. So largely Mark Giandino kind of runs this process at the graduate level. But the faculty sort of weigh in on, for example, a student has a 2.97 GPA, they're considered on probation, how is this handled, or if it's a student with a 1.0 GPA and they're on probation, how many chances do we give a student? And it's been really helpful with this committee to make sure that there's consistent decisions. Everything is documented. The students receive a letter. The program directors are informed. So Sammy's on sabbatical this semester, so we need to fill in. She will return to the committee. We just need someone to fill in basically in 2 weeks when the grades are released after term 1, and then after term 2 at the start of this summer. And I had sort of checked with John just to make sure what are the bylaws on who and who can serve in this capacity, again, just temporarily. And I spoke briefly with Michael French, who agreed, if he was qualified to serve on this committee, he would be willing to do that. I had suggested Michael because when he served as the MHA director, he had been on several of these calls representing the sort of the student side of the MHA program. So he's pretty familiar with the inner workings of this. So again, it's just a temporary replacement for Sammy while she's on sabbatical. I'll stop there, but happy to answer any other questions.
Yeah, Carolyn, you mentioned that you put something in the chat. I didn't get it. Did people get this?
Oh, sorry, it's too long. That's why. Let me present it too. Sorry. Yeah. Multitasking, okay. Right? Okay, here's the first part. Sorry. Let's see if that goes through. And then here's the second part. Sorry about that.
No, that's good. First part went through. I can.
Here comes the second part now. So essentially, it just sort of says that I can briefly summarize. The committee sort of determines if continuation and probationary status is allowable, or if this is the time to dismiss a student. And we have dismissed students in the past, so it's an important decision. This can be appealed, so it's nice to sort of have this faculty committee that made this initial decision. It can be appealed to the associate dean, it can be appealed to the vice dean. So it's a nice formal process that we have. But I'm pretty proud of it. I think it works really well.
And I just have one other question. So obviously people from different departments serve on these committees. When something comes up with someone's department, is the practice to recuse themselves, or is it on a case-by-case basis? How does that work?
So it certainly has come up that a student in Sammy's class is one of the students that's on probation. I think that it hasn't been, so the nice thing is you have Sammy and you have Ricardo, so you have those two people, and then I can sort of ex officio sort of weigh in if there's an inconsistent decision, but really the team has been in tandem on all of these decisions. They've been making these decisions so often and seeing so many cases. Ultimately, what we don't want to happen, John, is that a student who has a 1.0 GPA keeps on paying to take courses at Miami Herbert when there's just clearly not a path forward to graduation. So Margie and her team do a very detailed assessment, and they're meeting regularly with the students. I've often met with the students as well, just sort of explaining, here's what you need to do. Here's here's the course that you can retake in order to, for a manual calculation, get above the 3.0. So I'd say there are checks in place should there be some sort of conflict of interest. Actually, just yesterday, I had reached out to Hari and Margie, and then we checked with the graduate school. The graduate school really doesn't see that as a conflict of interest. So me, actually, with the student that I have in class, wants to submit a grade appeal. And I said, I've had the student in class before, that's a conflict of interest. And they're like, no, it's really not. So that's what's helpful about this committee, too, is we've been through almost every scenario and are pretty well-versed with what the university sort of regulations or the graduate school requirements are. So actually, just the short answer would be that's not a conflict of interest. I should have just started with that. Sorry.
No, it's great. Thank you for that. And that makes sense to me. The one thing I think you may want to consider is that there are times when, especially if there's a grading, if a student disputes a grade of a faculty member, they take that to the appeal process involves a department chair. So in this case, and by the way, Michael, I'm glad you're willing to step up and do this, absolutely, but that may be one of those situations to think about possibly recusing himself on that issue if it's a possibility that one person can be involved in two stages of sort of academic integrity assessment.
That is a really good point. So what I can do with Margie in the next couple of days, we have not, I sit through the meetings, we have not had a HEMBA student or MHA student In the past, I'd say 2 cycles, but I can see if we foresee that this is an issue. But so I can also tell you then if it would be, this would only be a first probation for any of those students. Yeah, I would, so, but that's, I think it's a really valid point. I think that's important. And I think that's why it's important to not regularly have a department chair sitting on this committee. So it's a fair point. Thank you.
Right, and I want to be clear. I think the way you've been approaching it in the past makes perfect sense, where it wouldn't be a conflict of interest just because you happen to be in that department. But in this instance, where there may be an issue where there's 2 stages of sort of assessment, having one person. So I just mentioned that as a possibility to consider. But again, Michael, we're very glad you're stepping forward, and we recognize this as a temporary assignment. Any other questions or comments?
I would just make a quick comment, John, that I was looking back at our emails as I was preparing for this call, and technically we should have this committee in place for the undergraduate as well. So maybe school council can, for the next meeting, be prepared to approve some names for the undergraduate committee as well.
Yes, and a larger issue related to that, if there's going to be some documentation sent forward, is that I think many of us sort of recognize that it has been problematic in the past that we have to outsource the assessment of academic standards or students on probation to entities such as the graduate school and others, rather than dealing with it sort of in-house, which many of the other schools, especially the professional schools.
Oh, sorry, just to clarify, the standards we've always done sort of in-house. And we can just, for the undergrads, for example, just move them to a different major. But the academic integrity, that's correct. At the undergraduate level, we've been able to sort of handle class 1 and class 2 within. But then the graduate school currently, the way that the honor code is written, all graduate academic integrity violations are handled outside of the school. That's correct.
Okay. Other questions or comments? Okay, so Carolyn and Michael, thank you very much. And we'll be back in touch with you very soon. At this point, we can open it up to any matters from the floor. Blanca?
I just wanted to give a heads up that reading date this semester is April 29, and that is usually the date that we have the regular faculty meeting. So you'll probably be getting an email within the next week or 2, so that we give ample notice to all the regular faculty.
Thank you, Blanca. And as you know, the school council is responsible for calling and organizing the regular faculty meeting, which we need to have at least 1 per semester. Any other matters from the floor? Okay, so I want to thank you all for coming. We're going to move to exec session. Reps, please stay. And thanks again for your efforts this Friday morning.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, so Blanca, I think you can stop the recording. Okay. Okay, so 7 of us are, thanks. So 7 of us are here. We have enough for a quorum. That's my bad joke. As was mentioned, Steve cannot make it, and both Carolyn and Michael understood that as someone with a decanal title and a department chair, they cannot be in these executive sessions. So that was very smooth, and Steve sort of laid it out for them, so that's good. They are a very small department, so it's challenging for them. And Emmanuel had mentioned that he had to leave a little bit early. Okay, thank you all again. I think we can go through this pretty quickly. I think a lot of these were sort of informational items, and maybe I could have just, I'm just seeing, so the votes, I think we need to vote on the new course proposal. Blanca, is there an item before 13 that we need to vote on, or is that the first one?
John?
Yes, George.
So there's an issue about item 12, and that's why I have been kind of quiet. I've been trying to reaffirm what I was under the impression. So I've been texting and talking to my department. So this item about the title change is actually using the word valuation, and equity valuation is in the finance sort of territory, so to speak, for lack of a different word. So our GPEC rep came to the department and told us about this so we can get a vote. And basically the finance department was against this title change because it makes it very, very similar to a class that we already offer, which is equity valuation. And our rep and the chairman has talked to Emmanuel about this, and we were all under the impression that this title change would not go forward as is. So when I kind of saw it, I was like, hold on, what is going on now? So as far as I am concerned, the finance department is like a no, and it's kind of unfortunate that Emmanuel is not here. But before I made this vote, I talked again to the chair, just right now to reaffirm what was my impression, and I talked to my GPEC rep, and they both agreed that it was communicated that this is not something that we can support, and we were under the impression that it would not go forward. So that's sort of the only thing that maybe we should not be bundling together, because I'm voting no based on what I heard from my department.
Yeah.
Right.
I have no say in this, George, but Emmanuel did say that he was going to join in like 5 minutes, so maybe if we hold off on this, just so he's back for this one.
Oh, okay, great. Thanks for that.
All right, let's go to item number 9, because what they're trying to do is create a session just for those students, and if it's not enough of that, those students to add some of ours. So are we okay with that, for them creating a new session?
So I have a clarification question. So in essence, what this means is to just allow these external students into the class, and if there are enough students, to open another section, because they're going to be mixed anyways, or they could be mixed anyways. So to me, it seems, instead of saying this is going to be a specific section for them, why not just say we'll open another section if there are enough students for this class?
Yeah, but the problem is that they are our students. We are responsible for them.
No, I understand that, and I think we should allow them in the class. I just think it's framed a little bit odd that we are going to open a section that's specifically for them, and then we're going to allow our students in that class because they're our students. So why not just say we will open another section, and so that all our students can take, and they're technically our students. So I was a little confused by this, but either way, I think these students should be allowed to take this class. So whether it is a specific section for them, which seems that it might not be, and it might not need be.
Okay. Yeah, I understand the point you're raising. I think it's a good one. Very quickly, again, this was the program that the provost and the president kind of rammed down everybody's throat. I'm sorry to put it that way, but that's the way it was. They showed up at the General Welfare Committee of the Senate meeting, which is unheard of, had not been done before, and they were pushing to get this out in time for Centennial and, all this kind of business. So I think, and basically engineering and business have to shoulder the burden of putting this together with the lack of pre-thought and the appropriate amount of time to work all of these things out. Having said that, Blanca, maybe we could send them a letter requesting just clarification, because this is a program, and if we have a program that has a certain number of students, that tends to go forward. Sometimes we mix cohorts. So let's just ask them, are we following the basic rule? And I think part of what's going on is Alex wants to notify us as to what's going on, which is great. But we might want to just send them a quick email to say, please clarify, are we following? We just want to make sure you're following the typical protocols in terms of opening a new session whether other people from cohorts go in and out. As long as my sense is that we're uniformly applying these guidelines, then all is good. Does that help, Uzma? Is that kind of in line with what you're saying?
Because I was just thinking, if these are technically if we are responsible for these students, there are students, then why are we even discussing this? Because that just means open another section. You have enough demand for it in a way. And if that's not the case, then what is the difference? If they're not our students and we don't open our classes to students who are not ours, but if they're our students, then we just have the section. It's as simple.
Yeah. It's a joint situation, so I think they're technically in the engineering school as well as the business school. It's a little unusual. It should have been done in advance, but there wasn't enough time. And I think a lot of this is coming from Alex wanting to be as transparent as possible, which I'm very happy about that.
So that you know, in preparation for this, I asked Priscilla to send me the letter that went to the UBEC members with the background, the issue, the proposed next step, and the request for feedback. I'll be glad to send it to all of you so you could see it.
I mean, we could, but I think it's my thought process is just simplifying it. That okay, we understand these are our students, partially at least, and we allow them to open another section, and then that opens it up. Like who goes where? It's none of our business. Right.
Well, what I will say is that I think it would be good if we set this for a couple of reasons. There are courses in some programs which are exclusive to the cohort, and then other courses in the same program merge cohorts. So I think if the council has an opening here to request clarity about the process and how it's applied, and if it's not uniformly applied, what are the criteria for not uniformly applying it, this may be beneficial in other contexts. I'm not trying to complicate the issue, but I'm saying there's an advantage to us seeking clarity here about the policy, the consistency, and what are the justifications for sort of changing it. So Blanca, could you just send them a message that while we're sort of favorable on this, we just would like some clarity about this? Does that seem to capture? Is there anything else we should add to this?
So the question is, if I'm a major in that other program and I need to take BUS 150, can I sign up for any section, or I have to sign up for that section that applies to that major? Does it mean that I have to be in that section where all my other cohorts are involved? That was not clear to me.
Right. What often happens is the sections may not. We make sure that people can take the section
right.
in business school, but when there could be engineering classes that
right.
conflict with that, and this is partly one of the reasons. And I think this is one of the big justifications as to why cohorts may be merged in some courses within the same program, and they're not later. But I really would like to get some clarity about this.
I think it's a good point.
So whether it should be a special.
Pardon?
So whether it should be a special session for them, or just open up a session that is open to all?
Well, I think what we want to ask them, and you and I can look at the draft before it goes out, is please help us understand the process as to when we create a special session or section for a program and when we mix cohorts. Okay, other comments or thoughts on this? And I don't know if this is an item that we need to vote on, but you're right to bring it up as a discussion item, because we're not creating a new course. It's a section issue, which, as Uzma rightly pointed out, is a little strange, but we've heard the background and we'll deal with it from there. Okay? All right, so I'd like to just go in order. If we could go to item number 10, which is a new program proposal, the BSBA in Supply Chain Analytics. Are there other questions or comments on that? Okay, is there a motion to approve this new program? Uzma, seconded Emmanuel. Okay, all those in favor? Okay, so that's approved. Great. With then I think we can move to item number 12. And Emmanuel, thanks for coming back. We understand you had to go out. I think you got some information, or there was some notification about some issues with the title.
That was dropped. Sorry, when Margie asked to add it to the agenda, I replied to the email saying accounting is not going to pursue that. So there's no issues there. So don't worry about the 672 title change.
All right, so number 12, the course title change for ACC 672 is you're no longer requesting.
That will remain the same. That's no worries.
All right, that's great. A very collegial settlement. And this is what's supposed to happen. Departments push things forward. GBEC and UBEC, in this case GBEC, look at this. There are other considerations before it comes to the council so that we can, sort of hold off any sort of issues like this. So I'm happy to see the process working.
Yeah.
You guys just wanted to show off how collegial you are by the way.
Are we gonna go and do anything with
something like that,
or just say that it's okay?
Sorry, Blanca, what is your question?
11?
Yeah, so 11, that's just a notification, right? So
description
there's
there's
no issues with that. 12 is kind of scrapped. So now we can go to the new course proposal, MGT 639, which is the Cane Angel Network. Uzma?
I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was very good.
Other discussion? All right, a motion to approve. Seconded. All those in favor? Okay. And now we have the part-time MSA and MST programs, that proposal. Questions or comments?
I think that's great too.
Yeah, that was just to get a bit of flexibility because we just couldn't advertise it as such, even though technically students are kind of doing that already. But
right,
this is just to
keep
Patty
recall,
Mercy happy, to be honest.
Yeah, if you recall, a couple of meetings back, the leadership program did something similar. We need to provide additional sort of flexibility. So, is there, Sarah, did you want to make a comment, or you're ready to put a motion? Motion to approve. Seconded. All those in favor? Okay. Okay, so I guess we're the proposal for the supply chain analysis certificate. Questions or comments? Okay. Is there a motion to approve? Seconded. All those in favor? Okay. And then the last item we have is a temporary replacement for Sammy is on sabbatical. We need somebody there. Carolyn laid it out. Michael French is willing to do it. The only potential wrinkle is that he's a department chair, but he has experience and done this stuff. I think you guys, Emmanuel, you may not have heard my comment. My only comment was if there's a situation where a department chair is the appeal if a student has a problem with a professor's grade. So if during this academic standards process, this student has put in an appeal for a grade and it's gone to the department chair, I think it might not be a good thing for Michael. Michael should recuse himself because then he won't be taking a sort of a decision-making position at two levels in the process. They seemed open to that. So what do you guys think in terms of that? I know we're concerned about having department chairs. Department chairs can serve on committees. Deans cannot. But this is an issue where the role of a department chair might potentially come into conflict with the role that they serve, but the odds are it might not, especially for a short assignment. We're just talking for a short assignment. Thoughts, comments, feedback?
Is this for a year or for a semester?
Semester.
Current semester.
And it's already half of the semester. So it's half a semester, really.
Gotcha. So.
I don't think when the conflict occurs, they'll work it out. That's my opinion.
Okay. It might be worth just putting, adding this sentence, like, let's say we approve this, well, we just note that this may be a concern, please take this into proper consideration.
Yep.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve Michael French as the temporary replacement for this semester for the Graduate Academic Standards Committee? Yes. Seconded. All those in favor? Okay. All right. Now, any other items, issues?
I mean,
Have we
question.
done? Are we done? Really? Like 10:30, 10:29?
Yeah, please, let's be careful with the expectations.
We're not, the end is the end is the end.
We're not done. There is at least one other issue, but I open it up to, are there other issues that people need to bring up in exec session here?
So you, John, you have another issue, or should I bring?
Yes, yeah.
Just so that people don't get too excited.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Well, hopefully well, I'll just leave that bad joke out. I'm not even gonna try. Okay, all right. There is one sort of issue that's brewing a little bit, and that is, as you know, we select as faculty our courses semester by semester. Our teaching loads are expressed in academic year terminology, but there has been a situation where people have taught some courses in the fall, and then they have some courses in the spring, and they choose the courses they're going to do in the spring and have expectations about what overloads might take place. So what I'm talking about is there are situations where people teach a couple of 2-credit courses in the fall, and it said this will be your load for the fall. And then in the spring, a department chair says, look, can you teach this course? And then they may have three-credit courses in the spring, and the current vice dean of faculty has said, we're not going to pay you for a 3-credit overload. We're going to go back to the fall semester, and even though we had a course that was in load and approved as in load for the fall, we're going to say that 2-credit course will be your overload for the academic year, because then we can pay you less. My understanding is this has happened to about 7 or 8 people, and currently it's sort of being reviewed, so let's be sensitive about this. I don't think the issue, or at least for me, I'm not looking to get involved in compensation, but what I am concerned about is a couple of things. One is a retroactive assessment of what's your load, what's courses serve your load, and what's going to be your overload. Number 2, that most people, the vast majority of people, take on an overload because the department chair comes to them and says, I need you. And if they have to worry about, besides making the assessment of how that would affect their compensation for the extra work that they're doing in that semester, if they have to retroactively review or be careful or concerned about a retroactive review, I think this is going to end up hurting the department chairs. It's going to make it a lot more difficult for them to sort of get people to do this. So I just wanted to sort of raise this issue. I don't know if anybody has any, sort of comments or feedback or thoughts about this.
I kind of think that the faculty members should decide what course is an overload, what course is not an overload.
Yeah, there is something where the department chairs need to submit something. I only know what happens in my department. Linda Niner wants to provide an incentive for people to teach an extra course, so she always puts in, even if there are some 2-credit and 3-credit courses, she has always put in that the 3-credit course be the overload. And there's some difference about this, and there's some tension about this within semester. But please understand, my point is post-semester, like after you've done your fall teaching, you sign up for things in the spring, and they're going to look for the least payment course from the fall as well as the spring to put as your overload. That's where I think seem to have more of a problem.
So the what's the what is the policy on when the department chairs do they have to submit this is the inload? Because we get the thing saying you will teach this course, right? Do they actually say what's inload and not? But this happened once actually in accounting, yes, and the person was not happy that it happened to. But DJ just basically said, look, the policy, whatever is in place, is that the lowest credit course out of everything will be the overload.
Yeah, the problem
now, the retroactive part is an issue, right? But if at the beginning of the semester you know that and you know you're teaching 2 extra, then the policy of we're going to pay less as the overload, I don't think is surprising because everyone knows that policy. I think it comes with what you were saying, John, which is if this is not agreed upon at the beginning and then you take on something, it's actually what happened in accounting due to illness.
Right.
Then,
yeah, and I think it's affected about 7.
A faculty member thought that was pretty unfair, which actually I tend to agree it is. But, I mean, what can we do as a body, though? Like, I'll be careful about wading into this, given we kind of saw how Paul reacted.
Yes. So a couple of very, very quick things. One is the policy in the past was, or a guideline in the past was, if you're teaching an overload that's on a weekend, and that's a 3-credit course, and you have 2 credit courses, that they would pay the overload because you're working on the weekend, kind of thing. But that was not uniformly applied. When the provost and the board got involved in reviewing overloads, one of the things that clearly went through with the faculty senate working with Jeff Durham, the provost at the time, was that we're going to make those decisions within semesters. We're not going to say, because then you think about it, who's going to want to teach an overload in the spring? And, we're going to do things semester by semester. There is some variance in terms of the pressure a vice dean of faculty could choose to put on someone if they're a newer department chair or something to that effect. So there's variance in terms of outcomes that could be attributed to whether people have more experience or less experience. Now, I agree. I'm not looking to wade into the area of compensation, but I am concerned that since it's not possible for us to determine our teaching load for an academic year, or choose our courses, let me say that differently. It's not possible for us to choose all of our courses that we're going to teach in an academic year because things happen and you've got to cover for people and, the attendance may drop in a program and all of these various reasons. I think that one of the things we might want to consider is a recommendation that we assess overloads by semester.
I was thinking, this is a way to couch this without even mentioning compensation. Can we ask and say there's concern about the uniformity of what is inload, what is not when things come up? So the recommendation would be actually all department chairs at the beginning of the year will stipulate what the inload teaching is, and therefore any changes afterwards would sort of have to be the overload, right? So can we couch it as a recommendation at the beginning of the semester? Department chairs say, here's your courses you're teaching, this is inload, that is a written document. And then, to me, it kind of seems natural that if you get caught doing something on top of that, that has to be the overload, right? That policy can't be retrospectively done because these courses weren't part of the load that you sort of get if we ask department chairs to sort of go that route.
So I'm just concerned about the phrasing beginning of the year. So in a semester, there have been faculty members who have approval that say these courses will be your load for the fall. And then in the spring, there's someone saying, no, that's no longer your load, even though in writing we said it was your load. This is going to be your overload because we can pay you less. So the issue is cutting across, and department chairs are not in a position to definitively state what somebody's going to teach within a year and how many 2-credit. Now, there may be a movement to turn all the courses back into 3-credit courses, and that will sort of resolve the issue. But while there's still variance in credit numbers for courses, because most of our load is based on courses, it's not based on credit hours. So the only thing is I wanted to bring this up because it's a bit of a concern that a retroactive changing of what was determined to be a load and then determined to be an overload across semesters for the explicit purpose of paying someone less, that seems very uncomfortable. Now, I will say that the dean is currently looking at this very confidentially. I had a very brief conversation with the dean, and he's not happy about this, but he does want to create some balance and some equity. And my point to him was like, look, if we're going to solve the problem of 2 credit versus 3 credit, that's great. This is not the way to do it, right? To just affect a few people. So I think they're looking into it. I'd like you guys to think about this issue. It is a bit complicated.
Is this something you want us to take to our department? I'm happy to do it.
At this point, I'd like you guys to think about this. The dean may resolve this issue. There is a change in the leadership with respect to the deans of faculty, so this may go away. And by the way, this may also go to rank and salary. That this is, you have something in writing and it gets changed. And another very confidentially point that I brought up to Paul was that we have some big asks of central administration and, the board of trustees. And, we've had a couple of things go to rank and salary that have been overturned. The business school or pushing certain things to tenure case and some others. And it doesn't make us look good when the university committees on rank and salary say, no, you're violating things. And this looks like it might be another. So hopefully it'll be resolved. With all due respect to your time, I wanted to at least raise the issue. Sorry, my dog's barking. But go ahead, George.
So basically, I kind of had a situation like that in the following sense when I was deciding my year. We put in some classes, and the chair convinced me to actually develop a new class for the undergraduates. So that was a very successful class, and I got awards in the graduate program. So he wanted me to do for the undergraduate. So I'm like, it's a lot of work, like we do it, but he's like, hopefully we can get it for you to be considered an overload. So at least I get kind of like compensation, so to speak, for the development. And I'm like, but he did tell me there's a chance it might not go through. And I kind of agreed to do it anyway. It did not go through. It got considered an in-load. But the point is, now I'm not going to teach it again. I'm not going to do it again. So I think...
And you're not going to do it again? Why? Because of compensation?
Because it's so much work, and the compensation is just not worth it.
But does that have anything to do, because the compensation is not worth it? Does that apply to what John's saying, or it's just not worth it your time because you're not being compensated enough?
This is an issue where
I'm just providing.
Credit course. Go ahead, George.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead.
I'm just providing. I'm providing a personal example. It is not going to be for a vote or for anything. A personal example how the structure that they have is actually making incentives skewed in a way so people stay away from teaching particular things because we all have limited time. All my raises, everything I do is considered on my research. Then if I kind of can create my schedule so that I can free up some time for my research, I will do it. So then in this course, I almost got like a 5.0 teaching evaluation from the students, but I don't think I'm going to teach it again. So I'm just saying this issue is something that I don't think we should take it on right now because I think with Terry coming in, we should have like a fresh conversation with her about, various concerns that we have and kind of take it from there. There's really no reason to, I think, bring it out of the school council, but I do believe this is something that it would be helpful if we could kind of clarify, and if not a policy, at least some kind of like, how do we call it, memo of understanding, so everybody kind of knows what this thing is, how these things are being done or decided. So I think that would be very helpful, but not now. After Terry takes it.
When I have a couple of comments.
Go ahead, Sarah.
I was just going to, sorry, go ahead.
Sarah had brought it up, so.
Yeah, one is First of all, John, when you said the dean was not happy, what did you mean he was not happy? Happy in what sense? That he thought this was not equitable, or that when you said the dean was not happy?
Very careful. That's my characterization. I don't want to put words in his mouth.
Right.
What Paul has said to me several times is, I would like, if you teach a course, you get compensated for teaching the course. He says, we do have an issue with the 2 credits versus the 3 credits, and this other thing, and that hopefully can get resolved. But he's not. I don't think he's happy, and I should be careful about characterizing this. That this can likely go to rank and salary.
Okay. All right. I just have I just have a comment on that. First of all, I am on the rank and salary committee, and I can say that sometimes we do not look good in the rank and that's all I can say. The business school, yes. Yeah, right. And I must commend that, how everyone says another committee, that is I love that committee. I am happy to serve on the committee, and every time they appoint me to that committee, I say I'm all in, because it really deals with that committee, just so you all know, really is on behalf of the faculty. And they take their work very seriously, and it's not haphazardly always to the faculty, but anyone that comes there. I just want to commend that committee. Linda Nider is now the head of that committee, and I was just mentioning today to someone else how she does such a tremendous job on that. Given that's the fact, I think since we're having a turn on, it's basically on a new dean of faculty, we should wait on it, and some of this may be resolved. That's how my opinion is, rather than starting to come in with compensation, things like that. It's already fuzzy for my department of what we're doing in the school council in terms of compensation. So that's what I think. And then it may be, John, I don't know how it will work out, that maybe have our new dean of faculty come in to just our meeting and express our concerns and see what will be changing there. I think that would be of interest to myself, to make it clear. That's my point.
Yeah, in fact, I was just going to say what Sarah already said, that maybe we can, put a little more structure on it. I think it would be great to bring Terry in maybe during our next meeting, and before that, we as a group could maybe even talk to our departments and see what are some of the big faculty concerns.
Right.
So we can just bring that, all of that information to her as, we are another conduit for our individual departments, and here are some of the key concerns that we just want to bring to you as you start your tenure, just as an informational sense, because again, I think a lot of these things will go away, but it might be just another opportunity to make sure that all these issues, or whatever other issues that are within the department, are elevated to her.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, and we don't have to have this as her official report to the committee. Before that, unrecorded, just us, and maybe just her.
Yes.
That would be fine. I'll see if I can set that up. I don't think she officially takes the post until May or something. But,
okay. But she's the director, isn't she, or something? No. She has a title.
She's supposedly shadowing DJ. I specifically invited her and Kevin Hung because they're both now, but they didn't attend.
No, but this is for Terry, maybe something. That's separate, and then it's a.
So that she could get a feeling of what's going on.
Yeah, but this is separate in terms of that's my sense, is just meeting with her separately as our new dean of faculty.
And in fact, it might be better to speak with her about all these issues before she takes part of this, right? So I think her and us having a candid conversation,
right?
To her
off the record, it doesn't have to be recorded.
Off the record,
right?
Just saying, here are some of the things that we have heard from our colleagues that have been of
issues.
Or you take your charge. We just wanted to put these in your ear, so you do what you do with them.
Okay. All right, great. So look, I just wanted to raise the issue. I'm sorry to take a little more time on the meeting here. I agree with everything that people have said. We need to keep abreast of these things. And when we meet with Terry and or Kevin at an informal get together, we'll check with our departments about some issues that people are concerned about. I think that would really go a long way. Okay. Any other issues or comments or? All right, I thank you all again for your service. We're still getting out before 11, which is good. Have a great weekend.
Not 10:29. See that?
Yes, yeah. Okay. All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Everyone.
Thank you, John, for taking over.
I want to stay on for just a second.
John, thank you so much for leading this. I appreciate it so much. See you.
Thanks, Sarah.
Bye.
Thanks.
Hopefully I can get out of this.
Take care.
Get me out. Get me out.